Hi, I'm Renee Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. My guest today is Vanessa Ortali. Vanessa is a coach and entrepreneur who helps leaders and business owners unlock their potential and grow with ease. We had a really great conversation. We talk about making inner peace the cornerstone of your business, trusting yourself to make the right decisions for you, which really comes from a place of being aligned first. We talk about how to not get caught up in this world of comparisons. We talk about her experience as a new mom and also how losing her mom at a young age really helped to shape who she is today. And we talked about the joy in simplicity in your life, in your business. Honestly, I feel like we talked about so many different things, and I really hope that you enjoy this conversation and that it serves you. Today, I have a special guest. I have Vanessa Ortali, who is a business and a mindset coach. Vanessa is someone that I have known for years, and I have had the honor, the pleasure of witnessing her really growing a business. But the reason I have her here is not just because of the successful business, coaching business that she has been able to create. It really is the way in which she has created that business. And I feel that for so many of us, we are getting caught up in a hustle culture these days. So I asked Vanessa to come on because I really feel that we can all learn from her when it comes to being grounded in what our vision is in terms of growing our business or fulfilling our purpose, but that we get to do it our own way. So welcome, Vanessa. I'm
Hello.
really so happy that you're here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I always love our time together, so now it's just recorded.
I know. That's the beauty of doing this podcast. Vanessa, before we go any further, for those who do not know you, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, your business?
So, in university, I thought I was going to go to medical school. I thought I was going to do all the things because I had the shoulds going through my mind and going through my body. And I felt like everybody was on this conveyor belt of life and it just didn't feel right. And so I ended up going to business school, loved it. And coming out of business school, same thing. Everybody's recruiting for the typical jobs. And I just had this knowingness inside of me that that wasn't for me. And so leaving university and going into the corporate world, I loved it. Still had that little voice, and noticed that this voice happened so many times. I still had this little voice of, well, I just felt like I didn't fit in. I didn't fit into the business world. I didn't fit into the spiritual world. And so coming out of all of that, I kind of figured I need to create my own little island. I need to create my own island that sits in the middle of this business strategy, this mindset, which has really brought me to where I am today of coaching entrepreneurs and helping them to build a business, build a life that feels really good for them, connects to their soul, which I know you speak to so much, while also making things more simple and helping them to create abundance and success while making business a lot more digestible and part of their everyday life. It doesn't have to be separate. Like, I feel like entrepreneurs and even women, we wear so many hats and we're constantly putting one hat on, taking one off. And to me, that was exhausting. So I really wanted to build a business and a life that allowed me to embody everything that I know so that I felt like I was just me in every area. And that's kind of brought me where I am today, supporting entrepreneurs to do the same thing. So it has been such a beautiful journey, and I'm just so happy to share that with others.
Okay, I love that. And there's so many places we can go just from that place. But I would say what really has just stood out as you were saying that is, and that's one of the things that I've really kind of see you do and do so well, is that I've never gotten a sense that you're trying to fit your life into your business. Like you've really managed or found a way to integrate it all, which to me is so key because, as you said, we don't live in compartments. We have this one life that we live. And when everything, I like to use the word equilibrium, where we can find that equilibrium, that flow between the different aspects of our life, then things come from a place of there's more ease in that, you know, recognizing that sometimes certain aspects are going to require more time. So being open and able to adjust. But that to me is like the essence. You just went right to it. So how is this something that, and you mentioned that it came sort of like through time, it's evolved, as I'm sure, and I'm sure it's never perfect, but how do you make that? Is that like your main priority? Are you very intentional with that, or is that something that sort of happens naturally?
So my main priority has always been inner peace. And however I get there, I just continue to give myself space and time to really intentionally every single day tune into what brings me peace. And that changes and evolves, just like you said, but that inner peace has always been my cornerstone in which I have built my business and my life. Because if I don't have inner peace, I don't have clarity, I can't show up in my day, I am just frazzled. And for me, peace is that space where I have so much more clarity, alignment, connection with myself and others, and everything just seems easier when I have that.
100%. Now, do you find yourself making like decisions in your coaching business from like a place of prioritizing inner peace? Is your inner peace sort of like your foundation outside of your business, or how do you incorporate that in your business decisions?
Yeah, so when I have this space for peace, I get clarity in what to do with my business. So I wouldn't say that in my business, I'm making decisions saying, I need peace. I'm always tuning in every single day when I am in peace, what that decision will be. And the reason I say that, it's almost like the discussion that so many people have on boundaries. And I actually know you were talking about this the other day. For me, boundaries, yes, they exist, but I find so many people creating boundaries and strategies without actually tuning in every single day. And while that can be helpful, if you aren't in alignment, because they're almost like your guardrails for your day. But for me, it's an act of self-trust. When I know that my cornerstone is peace, I almost don't need the daily boundaries because I know who I am. And I trust myself in each moment to make the right decision. That if my boundaries were just in place, I wouldn't always be tuning in because I wouldn't be tuning into what's right for me, what's right for my business. Sometimes I make decisions that aren't to my code and to my rule book, but I do that trusting and knowing that I'm going to make the best decision for me in every moment.
I love the focus on the trust piece because I think ultimately that is what it comes down to. And also, like you brought in the whole idea of being aligned. And I think that is like so important. It's sort of like different topic, but when we talk about mindful eating, let's say, and really trusting, like kind of allowing yourself to tune into what you want and eating from that place. And I'm always like, yes, that works, but it works when you're in an aligned place. If you're not in alignment, then it doesn't mean that necessarily your cravings are going to serve your body. So it's sort of like alignment. The alignment piece comes first. And then if you are there, which for you sounds like it's really just this daily commitment to inner peace. And when that is in place, then everything else you can trust that the other pieces are coming in the way in which they need. Is that how, does that
Yeah.
correct
Yeah,
assessment?
100%. 100%. Because alignment is such, for me and my clients, a core piece. Because if you don't have alignment, you're constantly confusing alignment for fear, alignment for so many things. I have so many clients that say to me, this is what I need to do, or this is what I should do, or this doesn't feel right. And then when we really get down to it, it's coming from a place of fear, insecurity, lack. When you are coming from a place of alignment, you show up differently and your decisions are completely different. And that's also where I know you and I have spoken about balance and how this kind of comes into play in business and alignment and that balance. And if this is something that your listeners are seeking, balance, I really want to encourage you to think about, I feel like balance is a buzzword. I want you to really think about, what does balance even mean? And why are you trying to achieve it? Because similar to boundaries, I guess I just challenge these normal words. I almost don't believe in balance, because balance is a state of being. It's not something that we try to achieve. Balance is the peace inside of me. Balance is the alignment inside of me. And when I am feeling peace and alignment, I have balance. Knowing that balance is always shifting and adapting. Balance is the balance between my mind and my body. It's the balance between my masculine, feminine. It's the balance between my strategy and my business side and my spiritual side, right? And I think when we start to challenge that word and what we're looking for, we really get to the core of what does it mean and what are you actually trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve balance because you want to be more productive, or you're not getting enough done, or you don't feel connected to your family or your partners? Like, we're actually starting to get to the core of this, not just this illusion of, I want balance, I want peace, I want alignment. It's why, like, what's at the core? Because then we can actually start to diagnose the situation so that you can feel completely aligned and spiritually wired, as you would say.
I love it. And I'm completely aligned with your idea of balance. I actually did a podcast episode on that, where it's like this search for balance that really doesn't exist. And again, it is more this idea of what it is that we're creating and allowing for that flow and recognition and it being that state of balance. And so that's why, like, I just love the work that you bring forward, because you challenge those norms. And as you said, it's like you recognize that you didn't fit into any, and we get to create, like, we don't have to fit in. I'd say one of like the challenges that I know I can easily slip into. I see clients do the same, friends, like so many different people, and it is comparing or like looking outside, because there is like so much external noise right now. There's so many different ways to run a business, so many different opinions about what it is you can do or should, that big word should do. So what do you find helpful? How do you stay kind of in your own lane without getting caught up in with all of that noise that exists out there?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is easy, but it's not always simple. To me, it's just distractions. It's really knowing, what are my distractions that are pulling me out of focus? Is it social media? Is it friends? Like, is it family? What is it? And not judging the answer. Because once I minimize distractions and just stay so focused, then none of that matters. I heard, well, I was actually on ChatGPT the other day, and Chat said told me something that I found very insightful. It was this balance between connection and dependence. And really, for me, I seek connection without dependence. I seek connection with people while not being dependent on my external environment. So the more, and the reason I bring this up is because the more independent I am, the more stillness I have, the less distractions I have, and the less comparison I do. And so the faster I move and the more money I make, actually, the more, I know this word comes with a negative connotation and I don't mean it to, but more isolation, more stillness, more presence I bring into my life. And everything else is moving so fast around me, but this is just so solid and still.
Okay, beautiful. Would you say that, like, if you were to define success for you, and we're gonna go into a big change that has happened in your life recently, so we're gonna get to that. But for now, from a what success feels like, because I find also that that is a word that means so many different things to so many different people, and we get caught up in the illusion of what we see out there, and success reflecting a certain amount of, money or clients or whatever it may be. But in the space that you're in now, what does success look for you? How do you define that?
Yeah, this is changing so much for me, obviously. So I just had a baby who is almost 6 months old. And success, I've constantly been asking myself, even in this new phase of my life. And I feel very grateful that I was able to have a child later in life, because for me that felt right, so that I could really anchor down into who I was. But I'm constantly still asking myself and evolving, what does success mean to me? Is this my soul's desire, or is this my human desire trying to force and need to do things? And so I'm really coming back to that question of what success is. And today, I mean, it's a daily practice of presence and alignment and clarity, and enjoying the journey, and knowing that I don't have to do it all overnight. Like, that is success to me. Success is a daily thing of just showing up, being in my power, and sharing my light. Like, that is as simple as that. That's what success looks like for me right now. And I'm keeping it really simple so that I can stay present and I can adapt and change, because things change for me right now every single day. And so it looks very different. But yeah, that's what success is, just showing my light every day.
I love that. And I love that you also said the word simple, because to me, if I learned, like, one of the things that I learned from you was really simplifying things too, right? So again, there's so many different moving parts when we are entrepreneurs, and to simplify things as much as we can, and to question how we think we need to do it. I know one of the practices that you do that I am in the process of implementing is the 3 weeks on, 1 week off. I don't know if you still do that. We didn't
I
actually quite,
do,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I
It's my
think that that is
cornerstone.
like, yeah, I remember us like having that conversation, and I'm like, oh, that's possible. You can do that.
Yeah.
But sort of like creating your environment, your schedule, the way that you do your business in order to support the life that you want to live. And I know you do a lot of traveling too. So it kind of gives you that space and freedom. Like, that's another word that I associate with you, is like the freedom to do what you want to do.
Yeah, yeah, I would say that that's accurate. Those are very important for me and possible. And that's the thing, with creating your own journey and path, knowing that it can be possible. If you can envision it, and even if you can't envision it, it is possible. And so often, coming back to the comparison, we're trying to copy other people's businesses and lives. But what if your journey was supposed to be different because you're the only person that could do it your way? And that comes back to this soul connection of knowing that maybe your life and success to you is different than you could ever imagine, and better than more better than you could ever imagine.
I love it. Okay, so now let's go back to yes, congratulations. You are a new
Thanks.
mom, and it is just, for me as a friend, it's just been so beautiful to witness you enter this new phase in your life. And you and I sort of like kid because we're like on the opposite ends in some ways of
Yeah.
motherhood, where my kids are like, leaving and you are entering. And now I can just imagine. So I've sort of built my business or this business after becoming a mom, which has came with its own unique sort of challenges and always that search for this elusive search for balance, as I call it, because always feeling the pull between wanting to be a mom in a certain way, wanting to be present for my kids, and also wanting to honor this calling that felt so strong within me. So you have a unique perspective in that now you've become a mom after, as you said, like you've had the time to anchor yourself and to really be grounded in who you are and what you want, which is, fantastic. And at the same time, that would also have its unique sort of challenges because you're also more set in the way in which you do things. So, what has being a mom like? How have things changed for you since you've become a mom? I know it's such a big question, but let's attempt
Yeah.
it.
So I think I have two answers. The first is, and maybe other people can relate as well as you, right? I mean, I
Mhm.
feel in one case that everything has changed and nothing is the same. And then on the other side, I feel like nothing has changed. So let me speak to both of those. I feel like nothing has changed because one of my clients asked me specifically, what was the difference when you went from a 5K month to a 50K month? And when I really thought about it, the answer is actually the same of what's the difference between when I didn't have a child and now when I do. And that is nothing, because I embodied her in both situations before it became a reality. So the 50K month, having the baby just was the next best step and felt so choiceless. It just felt so logical. It just happened. And I was already there before it happened. So it was a natural progression for me. And then the part of me that feels like nothing is the same is really encouraging me to completely embody everything that I know and teach. And I'll give you an example. So when I was first trying to breastfeed, and who knew breastfeeding could be so hard, my little guy, it took him forever to latch. And we would just sit there for 40 minutes and he would be having this little panic attack. And I would just fully come back to my breath and just breathe and just say, it's okay, Maverick. One moment at a time, we are going to figure this out. And to me, that was my first moment as a mom where I could be so proud of my complete embodiment in that moment, that I get to embody and not take on what everybody says. A mom is stressful and this and that. And yeah, there are stresses. But it doesn't have to be stressful. Even the past 6 weeks have been quote unquote stressful because he's been going through all these milestones and not sleeping. So mama hasn't had much capacity. But again, embodiment of self-care, embodiment of giving myself grace and moving slower and knowing my priorities and simplifying. What do I actually need to do with the capacity that I have? While also trusting that the season would shift and that I just needed to hold my peace every day as much as I could. And then knowing that that season would change. I have to give an analogy because I love analogies. And right now when we're recording this, it's fall. I feel like if you were to ever talk to a tree, they would never be angry or scared when their leaves fell off during fall. It's just part of that season. And so I've been really embodying that in this season, this early season of motherhood, even if my leaves fall off and I'm left just with my branches and my core, trusting and knowing it's all good. Like, this is just part of this process. Everything is constantly changing. The only thing that is consistent is me. And so just holding that consistency and knowing what consistency means to me. And for me, that is so much of that piece that we've already spoken about.
What do I need to do with the capacity that I have in this moment? What a great question to ask yourself, because again, it speaks to how that capacity may change at certain times. So it's like honoring and always checking in. Maybe if you do, like you had a night where you didn't sleep, of course it's going to affect your capacity. So then it like becomes that practicing compassion around what's the capacity and what is the, minimal amount of energy that I can extend in order to still kind of do what I want to do, but not in a way that's going to drain me. And it's a choice, right? Like, I feel like when we come back to like, how can we achieve more while doing less and not get caught up in this hustle culture, it really comes down to a choice that you make. You mentioned
And your
too,
thoughts too, which I
yeah,
want to add into that, right? Like, I could be sitting there up angry all day. Oh, I didn't get enough sleep. This sucks, being angry at myself, my partner, my baby, who knows? But instead, once you really start to check in, okay, what meaning am I attaching to this? What stories am I attaching to this? What inner dialogue am I attaching to this situation? That will completely transform how you're able to show up and deliver your capacity. Because I think that if your thoughts aren't aligned and in alignment with your best self, then your capacity is actually diminished, because it's spending so much time resisting those thoughts that you just get nothing done. So if I don't have capacity, I'm going to make sure that I beef it up with positive, mental dialogue as much as possible. And it makes a really big difference for me anyways.
yeah, and just to come back to the idea of embodiment. So, this is a topic that, I share. Yes, you share a lot about it, but you said something that I think is really important in terms of like identifying the difference. So you said, I can have stresses, but it doesn't have to be stressful. And I think to me, like, this is the line where we always, like, we speak of the embodiment of the good things, right, in life. Like, we're embodying peace, we're embodying, success, we're embodying abundance, all of those things. But how easily we slip into like the contrast of that, which is embodying stress and embodying the more sort of like the lack mentality and the negative emotions, which for many people may feel like they don't have a choice, that if there are stresses, that it means that they're stressed. And so when we can like detach ourselves from identifying with the stresses as opposed to experiencing the stresses, it doesn't mean that you are not experiencing real life challenges and stresses, but there's a difference between experiencing them and being them. So that I wanted to point that out, because I think that the way in which you said it is so powerful and so important for people to remember. You can have stresses in your life, but it doesn't have to be stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we've all been through stuff, right? Like, my mom died. I've been completely broke. I've had all the things. And when those things happen, because they were so much earlier in life, that maybe I did take them on. I did embody those stresses. But now learning that I can observe it without becoming it is just such a beautiful gift that I give myself, right? It's that detachment, but not that I'm not feeling my emotions, like you said, and processing them. It's just the perception I give it allows me to still stay grounded and in my best self without absorbing everything going on around me.
And being your friend and knowing you. I don't know, how long ago did we meet? I don't know how long
Oh
ago we
my,
met. I
a
feel like 10
long.
years
I
ago, at least 10.
it would be more. It would
Yeah,
definitely be
yeah,
more.
it's
I
been
think
a
it's
long
like 12
time.
to 15. Yeah.
So we've known each other a long time, and you are a few years younger than me. Yet you carry a wisdom. And I mean, you mentioned like you lost your mom at a young age. And to me, it's like those, I can't even imagine from your perspective what that meant for you in your life. Yet, as your friend and as someone who's seen you, I also know that that's also been such an important part of who you are, and it's allowed you to carry a wisdom that you've always had from like a young age because of going through that. It's making me emotional as I share it. But it's really it's a unique experience that you've carried with you, and I'm sure listeners have had their own sort of experiences in that, but I really see that in you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Hmm.
thanks. And I want to share this just because I think it might be beneficial for others. I was talking to my dad the other day, and I truly believe, as devastating as the experience was and how much I miss my mom, I would totally love to see her again. I wouldn't change it. Like, it's made me who I am, and I don't
Yeah.
know how I would have gotten here if that didn't happen. Obviously, there were so many other things, but it's really beautiful to be grateful for the experience, even though it carried so much pain
Hmm.
and sadness.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for being willing to share that, because I know it's not an easy thing. Yet it is something that I've heard you share openly, and I know has helped so many other people that have gone through some very difficult, whatever challenge it can be, that they've experienced. But there is so much power in opening ourselves up and being willing to share those moments, because it invites that depth of connection where people can see themselves in you. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate that you are willing to go there and to share that.
Thank you. Yeah.
One question I was going to ask, as a mom or as a new mom, I'm curious, like what are, and I'll ask sort of like two things so we can maybe end on a more positive, but I'd say like what has been the most, like the greatest unexpected, I know you don't like the word challenge, but like
No, it's
unexpected,
fine.
like
Yeah.
sort of challenge that has come your way after being a mom, and but also what's been the most like unexpected gift that you just weren't didn't see coming.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the most unexpected challenge being a mom has actually been external. I felt like when I had a baby, everybody wanted to see him, which is a beautiful thing. But I didn't have the capacity to hold all of these people. And that was a lot. Like, I just wanted to disappear with my baby and just like, no, I'm my baby's bouncer at this point. Everybody wants to see the baby. People don't care about me. But that actually was a lot for me. And managing that, and it's like a cord cutting meditation, and like cutting those cords, and managing other people was the hardest thing for me. So in that situation, that gave me my greatest gift, which was showing me everything that we've been talking about today, how much more grounded I need to be in my peace and observe without evaluation. Like observing everybody else, observing the situation without evaluating it, without attaching a story, and just staying so connected. It just was like, yep, you can be more connected, Vanessa. You can be more connected and more grounded, and not let it get to you. And so I accepted that challenge.
I okay, that is something that no one really talks about, right? It's the just the feeling of all of the pulls on your energy that are coming from a place of love from a place of
Yes.
excitement, yet at the same time, you're recognizing I only have so much energy. And it's sort of, I love that you brought that up because I've had so many conversations recently and I've had them, with clients, but also in my personal life right now where it's like you are like really finding that space of being okay to, and maybe, I mean, I would use the word boundary in this case, where it's like really being aware of what you're allowing, the energy that you're allowing into your space. But sometimes, like we always sort of talk about it from a perspective of negative energy, but there's also sometimes like good energy. It's just you don't have like what you're craving, what your soul needs, your body, your mind needs is more to be introspective, to be by yourself, to isolate, to have that moment. Yet everyone around you, the energy around you is so intense coming at you, and it can be challenging to deal with that. So, what a great answer. That is, yeah, it kind of goes, but that's like such a specific example that I can so see how hard it is because now it means you're
Yeah.
saying no to people you love, and yet at the same time you need to honor and respect what you need.
Yeah, especially because I present as an extrovert, but I'm actually an introvert. So I really mess people up because they think that it's personal or that I don't like them, and it's not that. Like I love connecting with people, so it seems like I'm extroverted, but I actually need so much alone time and stillness and detachment from others. So I get that it confuses people, and it just helps me and nudges me to just continue to be my authentic self regardless of what people think, right? It's hard but you are not responsible for how other people react and respond to you making decisions from alignment. It's never been easy for me, like I said, because I'm introverted and present differently.
Yeah, we're definitely sisters in that because especially since the pandemic, I know for me is when it became even more clear because before I was never really given the opportunity to be more of an introvert because it's just, right, life is life and you're driving. I mean, at the time, like for me, it was like I was in that phase of driving my kids everywhere and going to competition, skating competitions and hockey tournaments and school and then friends and all of those things. So we were kind of just on this roller coaster of life. And when this happened, it changed everything. And I almost feel a little bit guilty saying it, but for me, I thrived in that environment where I did not like it was like I was in my zone and loving the time and space by myself. So it's been interesting as we like reintegrated and now, we'd say we're fully reintegrated. My spirit does not want the same level of connection that
Yeah.
time within. And I think from a spiritual perspective, it is so important to give yourself that time. So I so relate to what you're saying. And I'm sure a lot of people do because it has been challenging for many people to come back to all of the regular pace of life.
Yeah, I love that you said that, and I actually just made a connection. That's something that I have actually done since my mom died. And I remember when my mom died, I didn't go to family Christmas because I needed to heal. I needed that space, which caused some conflict, I understand. And people were like, "What? You're not going to family Christmas?" I literally booked a reservation at the Shangri-La and had high tea by myself on Christmas because that's what I needed. I needed that space. I needed just to connect inward and not give in to the expectations around me and just listen to what I needed. So yeah, I love that you connected that to COVID because when it happened, I'm like, this is the best. You mean what? I don't have to do anything? This is so great.
I know. And again, I respectful of the fact that it was not a great time for many people for other reasons. Yet there is a truth to the fact that for some of us, it was like almost a relief of like, okay, there's no, and I mean, I was looking forward to seeing people again, but yeah, now it really was that opportunity to check in as to what I need. And so I'd say if you were to bring it down to like, what is that practice that allows you to be in a space of embodying the inner peace and embodying what it is that you need? Because the thread that keeps coming up, or that has kept coming up throughout this conversation, has really been honoring being clear on what you need, knowing that that changes at every moment, and making sure that you honor that despite maybe disappointing other people, despite perhaps creating some conflict, despite a lot of things, which is where most of us will feel like, I know. So sometimes you can get to the space of clarity, but you have to be willing to honor that. And that means uncomfortable, perhaps, conversations. So, what would you say has allowed you, like, what if you can leave the listeners with one thing that you found to be helpful in embodying that essence?
Yeah,
What would you say
it's
that is?
very clear to me. It is daily check-ins. Every morning, I sit there after my meditation and check in. How am I feeling? How's my capacity? How do I want to show up in my day? And then I also check in at lunchtime. How am I feeling? How much energy do I have right now? What would I like the rest of my day to look like? Same thing at the end of the day. How was my day? What do I want tomorrow to look like? How do I feel? And that just keeps me really honest, and and allows me to continue to make the best decisions for me, my business, my family, my clients, everything.
Beautiful. One question that I am asking of my guest is, well, how would you define? So, this is the Spiritually Wired podcast. How would you define spirituality? What does spirituality mean for you in your life?
That's so beautiful. I think spirituality is my connection to self. And in my connection to self, it's my connection to nature, it's in connection to the world, and it's my ability to see everything at its core, everything at its true soul, like a little baby coming through the innocence of a person, the innocence of nature, and the perfection in that. Because there is so much perfection in where we are in this moment and what everything is in our external environment.
Thank you, Vanessa. So if people want to learn more about you, what you do, what's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, I would probably say my Instagram. If you go to I am Vanessa O, check me out there. You can send me a note. Keep me posted. Let me know what you took away from this. I love having conversations with you. Let me know how things are going, what you need help with. I can give you free resources. I can work with you one-on-one, whatever it is. Keep me updated. I want to be able to support you wherever you're at.
Yes, you definitely are just a beautiful soul. Everyone would have felt this throughout the conversation, but I just feel like I can attest to that, at how giving you are as a person, and I appreciate you so much. We will link to to your Instagram and your website and all of the goodness that you offer in the show notes. So Vanessa, I just want to thank you once again for taking some time to be with us today, and to remind all of our listeners that you are spiritually wired. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly live lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.